Okay. Just gonna let a couple more people get in real quick before we start this off. Feel free while we're waiting, drop us some locations where everybody's at. We'd love to see where our audience is coming from in the chat box. California, Florida, Atlanta, Ohio. Michigan, New York, Texas, we got everyone. All right, cool. All right, let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's class, the Winsor Newton Cotman's Blueberry class. My name is Tim DePack, and I'm from Winsor Newton. I'll be your moderator today. I'm being joined by Mandy Peltier, who will be your artist instructor for this class. And Mandy will be taking you through today's class by providing you some information about the products being used in this class, showing you how to perform some watercolor painting techniques, and creating these sweet blueberries using the Winsor Newton Cotman watercolor paints from the Sketcher Box set. Before we begin the class, for those of you who would like to print out the sketch for the project, they can be found on the link in the chat on the side here, if you didn't do that already. And we'll put the link over there for you. And I just want to let you know that the class is actually being recorded. And within 24 hours, you'll be able to go back and review this on Michael's YouTube channel or Michael's channel itself. So you may choose to follow along with Mandy or sit back and relax and enjoy this replay later on. With that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Mandy Peltier.
All right, thank you, Tim. Hi, everyone. I'm Mandy Peltier, and I'm really excited to be back with another class. I have been on a food kick with my previous classes and even today in my next class. So we only have an hour. I'm going to go ahead and share my other camera. We'll get started, and I'll show you what project we'll be creating today. All right, so I don't know if you heard that in the background, but it is currently storming right here. So hopefully I won't have any power issues or anything, but I'm in Georgia and it just sort of rains out of nowhere here. So we'll just kind of roll with it and hopefully everything will be fine today. But we are going to be creating a blueberry piece today. And this technique looks pretty realistic, but it's also super easy and I think it's fun. We're basically going to be learning a wet into wet technique where we're going to be wetting the paper with water and then dropping in paint over top of the water. And the paint today is mostly all just going to bleed into itself versus much manipulation from our part. But I'll talk about that as we get going. Before we get started, I want to just go over all the supplies so you can make sure you have everything you need. We'll be mixing 9 colors today. So I do have a 10 well artist palette here that can hold 9 individual colors. I'll be once again using the Cotman Sketchers Pocket Box set. I have a glass of water. I'm using just one brush today. I'm using a Cotman Round number 4 brush. I have paper towels for blotting my brush, and I have a graphite pencil and eraser for sketching my outline. If you've already sketched your outline, then you don't need the graphite pencil and eraser. And then the paper I'm using today is Winsor Newton Professional 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. It looks like this. It comes in a pad where you can just tear off the paper. And what I've done is I've taken the 9 by 12 inch pad. And so we'll just pretend this is one 9 by 12 inch sheet of paper. I just cut it in half along the 12 inch side to create 2 6 by 9 sheets of paper. And I'll be using one of those pieces for today. And then you can use the other piece just for more practice, or you can even save it for my class next month. Next month on September 21st, I'll be teaching everyone how to paint these apples. And so you could always save the other sheet for that. All right, so I'm going to get started right now by sketching the outline. So I'm going to kind of shuffle things around on my workspace. And I'm going to keep my 6 by 9 sheet of paper and my graphite pencil and eraser. And I'm going to pull over a printout of the actual outline, because I think it's easier to draw the outline when you have it right next to you and you can better gauge perspective and sizing. So where I want to start drawing the outline today is with the main blueberry that we can kind of has the front on perspective because we can see this part in the middle of the blueberry. So I'm going to start by drawing that, and I'm just going to draw a circle that's about the same diameter as what I see on my actual outline. So the sketch today is pretty simple because we're pretty much just drawing circles and then lines and leaf shapes. So that's the good news. And then after I have my initial circle down, none of these circles are perfect. They have slight lines to them as it moves around. So now I'm just kind of going to go around this blueberry and I'm just going to sort of shape it to make it look a little bit more like what I see on my outline here. And blueberries.
Mandy, quick question, Mandy.
Yes.
What's the scale of the blueberries that you have there? You would say they're about maybe double, 50% more, 100% more times like an actual blueberry, just so some people are trying to judge based on the.
My guess is 250% larger.
Okay.
But that's just a guess. I haven't really like done a side-by-side comparison, but yeah, they're definitely not life size. I mean, you could totally do these life size, but these today are not life size. But yeah, that is a good question. I would go with 200 to 300, just split it in the middle, 250% or so. All right, so after you have the first blueberry sketched, I'm now going to draw what's in the middle. And the middle is basically just a flower. You're just kind of drawing petals or, so I'm just gonna kind of start in the middle and draw like a little petal and then draw another one, or even looks like a starfish a little. See how that sort of looks like a starfish? Like a starfish or a flower. And I kind of made mine so they're all the same size, but you can even make one that's a little bit wider than another petal. And just put it kind of right in the middle of the blueberry. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw these two blueberries on each side of the one we just drew that are sort of tucked behind the blueberry we just drew. So I'm going to just sort of draw two more circles. And if you need to actually place the circle so that it goes over the blueberry you just drew, so you can kind of get it right, you can totally do that and then just erase what you place over the blueberry we just drew. So I'll do that just to show you for perspective here. And then you can just continue to form and shape it. And then the rest of the blueberries have what I'm kind of calling fangs. So it's the part of the blueberry that you can see underneath. And I think it kind of looks like fangs if you were drawing like a Halloween drawing of a monster or something. So at the bottom of each blueberry, I'm going to draw just kind of 2/3 of a triangle shape or like a fang shape. And then I'm going to do the other blueberry on the other side. Here we go. I'm trying not to let the rain distract me here, but it is really coming down here. I don't know how the weather is where you are, but I hope it's a little bit nicer than what I'm experiencing right now. All right, so now I have this blueberry drawn. And now I'm going to draw the blueberry that's tucked behind the two we just drew. So same thing, I'm just going to draw a circle. If you need to draw the circle so that it actually overlaps the two we just drew and then you can erase, you can do that if that makes it a little bit easier. And this one also has those little fangs at the bottom. And then I'll erase what I drew over the second two blueberries we drew. And this one also has little stems. So I'm going to draw a little stem to connect to the first blueberry we drew. And now I'll go ahead and draw the main stem that connects to the blueberries, and then I'll draw the leaves, and then I'll finish by drawing the other blueberry. All right, so I'm going to draw two parallel lines that have a slight curve to them for the main stem here. And I'm not going to draw the top yet. I'm just drawing the two parallel lines for the stem to start. And then I'll draw the little top here. That almost looks like a teardrop shape at the top of the stem. And now I'll draw the main stem for the leaf. So just a kind of a curved line. And then I'll draw that leaf that's attached to it. And I'm going to draw the veins on that leaf, the main center vein and some side veins. Okay, and then I'll draw another little stem and this other leaf here. The leaves are just sort of big teardrop shapes. And they also have some veins running through the center of the leaf and some side veins here. And then there's one more leaf. So I'll draw the stem for that. And this leaf is folded over. So I'm going to start by drawing the main shape of the leaf. And then I'll draw the folded over section. So I'll kind of just go down, bring it to a point, and then bring it back up for the folded over leaf. And then I just have one more blueberry, and that's this one. So I'm going to draw my stem for it and then draw another circle for the blueberry. And you can always trace if you don't feel that you're very proficient yet at drawing what you see. You can always trace this using a well-lit window or a light box. My windows right now would not work very well since it's raining, but when it's not raining, you could use a well-lit window and and trace it that way if you don't have a light box. And there's our outline. There's our little sketch. So mostly just circles and lines and teardrop shapes. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mix our colors. I sometimes mix our colors as we go. I practiced it both ways for this particular project. And I personally just like it better when we mix it all at once for this. I think it will, in the end, save time and help the flow go a little bit better. So I'm going to use my number 4 round brush. And the first thing I'm going to do is put it in the water and give it a stir here to help those bristles absorb the water. And I'm going to use my brush as if it were a spoon. And I'm going to place 2 scoops of water into all 9 wells that I'm going to be using on the palette. So what I mean by scoops is I'm literally just going to take my brush and I'm going to go 1, 2. And I'm going to do 2 scoops into 9 wells total. If you do 3 scoops, that's okay. I just.
Hi, all. We truly apologize. I know she said that her weather conditions were kind of bad, so we're hoping that she's able to reconnect with us soon.
She might have to restart. So give her a second.
Yeah. And Tim, while I have you, there's a question that you may can answer while we're waiting.
Sure.
What colors would need to be mixed in order to create black?
Oh, I would have to refer to Mandy when she gets back on that.
Okay.
There's a couple different variations of how they can do that. So I'll definitely let her know that, because there is no black in the set that's being offered for this. So you will have to make that one there.
And if anyone that may know that answer that's watching, if you could put that in the chat, that would be great. And just as a reminder, this class is being recorded and will be available on michaels.com/classes within 24 to 48 hours. And it also can be found on our Michaels YouTube channel as well.
So as we're waiting, I see some questions in here. I'll see if I can answer for everybody. One of the ones, how do you know what number the paintbrush is? On your brush, you should have a little number sign on there. That'll be anywhere from 3 zeros up to size 12 or 14. They can vary amongst different brands of brushes. The one that Mandy's using on this one here is actually a size round 4 right now. So that's
Tim, can you hear me?
There. Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm back. I don't know if my screen is pinned, but I just wanted to say that.
Let me find.
It's slowly coming back into focus, I think.
Right,
and maybe let me find you, and I will make sure that we have you pinned.
All right. Felicia, where I live, we just don't have very good infrastructure. We get packages all the time when it storms. So as soon as it started raining, I started to feel a bit anxious this would happen. So I apologize, everyone, that I lost internet there for a second. I'm now using the hotspot on my phone. So hopefully that will allow us to have a more secure connection. But we haven't really missed much time. That didn't take too long, but we're going to go ahead and mix colors now. And what I was going to say right when I got booted off is that when I create art, I generally like to create art with multiple values. And by value, I mean the intensity or the brightness or the darkness of color. And so I usually will have, if I'm doing like something that's blue, I'll have a lighter blue, just a regular blue, and then a dark blue so that I have 3 values. And so we're going to mix a few blues today for the blue blueberries. We'll mix a few greens for the green blueberries and the leaves. And then we'll mix a couple red violet colors for this blueberry here. So I just want to kind of explain why we're mixing 9 colors. This is a nice range of values for this particular project here. All right, so we're going to start by mixing a blue, and I am going to use the ultramarine blue. We're going to start with just our middle value blue, and the ultramarine blue is on the top row, second from the right. And so I'm going to do what I call a pass, and that means I'm going to take my wet brush, I'm going to run it into the ultramarine blue a handful of times, and I'm going to kind of stir it into those 2 drops of water. and then wipe my brush on the edge of the well, and that's one pass. And I'm going to repeat that probably 4 more times for a total of 4 to 5 passes. And this is going to give us paint mixtures that are equal paint to water ratio, or maybe even slightly more paint than water. We really want them to be bright and saturated and not really watered down. Okay, so this is sort of the saturation you're looking for, a super, super bright blue. And then yes.
I do apologize for cutting in. I know because you're using your phones, using your Wi-Fi or using your phone data, that the quality of the picture is not as clear as we want it to be. But we're just asking everyone if they can just bear with us all, just because we know that she's having some weather conditions that are causing a lot of issues. So we do see your comments, but we're just asking you that we do see it as well. If you can just bear with us, we truly appreciate that.
Yes, and when this storm passes, if it passes before the hour is out, I'm happy to try switching to my home internet connection again. I just don't want to do that now because it's going to kick me off and we're going to have the same issue. So I do apologize for that. I wish I could control the weather, but I cannot. So let's just be flexible here and be easygoing about it. And when I teach, I try to be very clear with instruction and with my words about what you need to do. So don't get caught up in not being able to see. Even if you can't see her, I'm going to be as clear as possible with my words. So you should still be able to follow along based on what I'm saying. All right. So I just mentioned, do not clean brush if you mix ultramarine blue. Just take what's on your brush and just give it a stir into the next 2 scoops of water in the next well on your palette, because we're going to turn this into a light blue. And so because this already had blue on it, we're able to just go ahead and get the base for the light blue going. And now what I'm going to do is just add 4 to 5 passes of the Chinese white to the second well on our palette to create a light blue color. Right, so I'm going to brush white. Now for 2 reasons. I don't want to put blue paint into my white half pan. And I also am blotting it because I don't want to put more water into the half pan. So in between every pass of Chinese white, I am swishing my brush in the water for a second and blotting it on the paper towel. And that's just to prevent putting blue in the half pan, and is also to prevent watering down any further that well that we're turning into a light blue. It almost looks like a light periwinkle. It's really pretty. All right, so we have a regular blue with ultramarine, and we have a light blue with ultramarine and white. And now we're going to mix a dark blue. So we've mixed navy or dark blue in my classes before, and I think I've always done it using ultramarine blue and burnt umber. And they're stacked on top of each other on the Sketchers Pocket Box set. So the burnt umber is the darker brown in the set. So I'm going to start by doing 4 passes of ultramarine blue. So we're going to start off as if we were just mixing a blue. So start off with 4 passes here, and then we're going to darken it, and we're going to turn it navy by adding just a single pass of the burnt umber. And the burnt umber is darken it, get a nice pretty navy color. You may have to do a few adjustments, add a little bit more burnt umber if you need to, or add a little bit more ultramarine blue if you need to. We just sort of want a nice midnight blue or navy color. We want it to look like 3 values. We want it to look like a true blue, a light blue, and a dark blue, 3 values. And those are our blues. And now we will go ahead and mix our greens. And we're kind of going to do it the same process as what we did with the blue. We're going to start by just mixing like true middle value. And we're going to do that using the sap green. So I'm going to take my wet brush. I'm going to run it in the sap green, which is the second from the left on the bottom row. It's the lighter green color. So a handful of times I'm running that brush into that sap green, and I'm going to repeat this process 4 or 5 times to get a nice equal paint to water ratio, or even slightly more paint than water. And then don't clean your brush, because we'll just put the green that's still on your brush into the next well of our palette to create a light green, just like we did with the light blue, only this time it's green. So I'm stirring my brush into the next well on my palette, and then guess what we're going to add to this to make it light green? If you guessed white, you're right. So I'm going to clean my brush, blot it, and then I'm going to do 4 passes or so of white to the light green, or to the green, to turn it light green. And this almost looks like a nice soft mint color, or like a sagey green. It's really, really pretty. And if you get it too light, you can always add a touch more sap green if you need. But once again, we're going for a middle value green, a light green, and then next will be a dark green. So I mix the dark green using the burnt umber. We could, I've done that before in my classes. We're going to mix a dark green today by using the sap green, and we're going to darken it with the ultramarine blue. It'll create like a pretty blue-green color. So I'm going to take my wet brush. I'm going to do 2 passes of the sap green. So do 2 passes of the sap green. And then I'm going to do 2 passes of ultramarine blue. And then we'll kind of take a look at it and gauge what adjustments we need to make. And I'll hold this up real quick. So this one is sap green and ultramarine blue. This is maybe even a little dark for me. So I'm going to add another pass or 2 of the sap green so that it's still dark and maybe not quite as dark as what it was when it was 2 passes of each color. Okay, so we have our 3 blues, we have our 3 greens. We are only going to mix 2 red violets because we're actually going to use the navy as our dark red violet, even though it's not red violet. I'll explain why when we get to that part of the tutorial. So we're going to mix a red violet color. We're going to start by doing 4 passes of alizarin crimson. Alizarin crimson is the only well in your palette that's red in color. So we're going to do 4 passes of alizarin crimson. Four passes of alizarin crimson here. And this storm is still coming down. I was hoping it would be like a quick one because sometimes they are, but oh, this one is sticking around for us today. They just didn't want to make this class easy on us. All right, so I have 4 passes of alizarin crimson. And now I have mentioned this in previous classes, but some of you may be new. Maybe you haven't taken my classes before. There's a color in this set that is very intense. It's very aptly named. It's very easy to pull pigment from it, and that is intense blue. And so instead of running my brush in there like I have with all my other half pans, I'm just going to wipe my brush gently on the intense blue to pull pigment from it because it's just so vibrant. And I don't turn this purple or even blue violet. So far right top row, I'm going to take my brush and just sort of wipe it across the top a few times and then stir it into the red. And you'll see how that turns it a really pretty red violet color. So if I had pulled from this color like I have all the others, I would have turned this purple or blue violet. So just be real dainty with the intense blue one because it is such a bold color. And then don't clean your brush. Go ahead and just stir what's left on your brush into the next well on your palette. And we'll turn this one a light red violet color by adding Chinese white to it. And just remember to clean your brush and blot it in between each pass so we don't put red violet into the white half pan, and blot it so that we don't add more water to that well that we don't want, because that's going to fuss with the paint to water ratio. So blotting your brush real quick will just remove the excess water so you don't add it to that half pan. And I have to tell you, the color of this is was the color of my walls growing up. I had like a really pretty sort of pink color like that growing up, and I had like unicorn wall border in my room. So just brings back memories looking at that color. Okay, one more color to mix. We're going to now just mix white. All right, so into the last well of your palette, we're just going to do 4 to 5 passes of the Chinese white. And this is going to be used on the second layer we're going to do to the blueberries. So we're going to do 2 layers to the blueberries. And the white will be for the second layer. But now that we have all the colors mixed, we can just spend the rest of the time painting, and it will all just go a little bit more seamlessly, already having all of the paint colors ready. All right, so I'm going to sort of move this up, do some more shuffling around. I can probably get my graphite pencil and eraser out of the way. And I'm going to pull over my little outline here. Okay, so we're going to start with this blueberry, and we're going to start by painting the blue blueberries, and then we'll paint the red violet one, then we'll paint the green one. And how we're going to do this is we're going to first wet, I'll just talk about this blueberry here. I'm going to wet this blueberry. I'm going to add water to the whole blueberry, but I'm going to leave about a 1/16 of an inch border from where my water ends and where the edge of my outline is. And the reason why I want to leave a little bit of a border is that if I were to apply water to the entire blueberry, the entire sketch that I drew, we would inevitably have some jagged edges as we apply our paint and as it settles into the paper. And you will be really tempted to fuss with that and try to smooth it out. And then because we're doing 2 layers, by the time we're done with our second layer, your blueberries will all be a lot bigger than what they're intended to be, because we'll just be so tempted to fuss and smooth out those edges. So we're going to fuss with and smooth out the edges on layer 2. So to avoid having that problem with layer 1, we're going to leave a 1/16 inch of a border where we apply water and then where the actual outline is. So I'll show you what I mean. I'll try to hold this up so you can see. And I can't promise I can do this every time, but I'll try to do it for this first one. So I just put some water on my brush. And I'm just going to wet the blueberry, but I'm kind of going to work around and leave that 1/16 inch border, like a little bit of a gap between where my water edge ends and where the actual outline is. There's like a 1/16 inch gap. So just wet the blueberry, leaving that border all the way around. And I'm also not going to apply water to what I was calling the fangs. And then into this wet water, we're going to drop colors. Okay. And we're going to start with the light blue. And I'm going to put some light blue on my brush. And I'm just going to place dots of light blue using the tip of my brush. I'm going to apply light blue to probably 75 to 80% of this whole blueberry. So you see, I'm just placing dots all the way around. So I'm not trying to cover everywhere I applied water. You see how there's still some white spots there, but I did cover about 70 to 75% over top of the water. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to blot it. And now I'm going to use the ultramarine blue color. So the true blue color. Okay. And I'm going to apply this not really along the bottom. I want to keep that the light blue for now. So I'm going to place a couple dots of the regular blue on the middle of the blueberry, on the left of the blueberry, along the top, and along the right side. So I'll hold this up. So you can see the bottom is still the light blue, but I put some drops of blue on the middle, on the left, on the top, and on the right. And now we'll use the dark blue color. So I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to blot it, put some dark blue on my brush here. And I'm going to place the dark blue along the upper left, and upper right, and sort of along the right-hand side. See that? All right. And then if there's any areas you missed color, like I see there's this little part right here that doesn't have color. So I'm just going to drop on a couple spots of blue there. And this may not look very good right now, but as this settles into the paper, the paint is going to bleed into each other. It's going to soften. It's going to smooth out. And remember, we're still going to add another layer of color to this blueberry. And that's when it's really going to all come together and look more like my finished example here. So just be patient. Right now, we're just starting with the initial layer. So we're going to repeat this process with this main blueberry, the first one we drew when we did the outline, but this is how we're going to do the water. So listen carefully here. We're still going to leave a 1/16 inch border from where the edge of the water ends and the actual outline. So leave a 1/16 inch border all around, just like we did on this one. And I'm also not going to add water to the center of the blueberry. All right, so leave the center alone, just carefully add water around it. And even along the left side of the center, I'm also going to leave a little bit of a gap between where the water ends and where this little flower center is, just on the left side. Because what that's going to do is it's going to create a little bit of a highlight part when we add the second layer. Hopefully you can see this on the finished one, how the left side of the center of this blueberry is white. Well, that's because we're not going to add any color to the left side on this first layer. All right, so I'm going to now add water in case you missed it. So I'm going to start with the outside edges of this blueberry, and I'm leaving that 1/16 inch border. So I'm just going all the way around this main blueberry here. And then I am going to go ahead and apply water to the left side of the center, but I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap that's not going to receive any paint to kind of create that highlight that I was talking about. And then I can go ahead and apply it to everything else that's remaining. So I kind of start with the gap portion so I can remember not to apply water there. Just sort of helps keep me honest and keeps me on track. All right, so I have clean water to the whole blueberry. And it's pretty much the same process, but the placement's going to be slightly different. But we're going to start with the light blue. And I'm going to place dots of light blue to about 80% of this blueberry. just like we did with the first one. So the light blue part is the same. Just place lots of dots randomly all over here. All right, hold that up so you can see. So just light blue all over. I'm not trying to get perfect coverage. It's just a good foundation. And then for the regular blue, just the ultramarine blue, I'm going to place it along the left side, whole left side, working right up to the center. I'm going to place some along the top and a little bit down the right side. All right, so you're kind of making almost like a halo or like a half moon shape around, or not a half moon shape, like a crescent shape along the top of the blueberry. Clean my brush, blot it. And the dark blue is going to be mostly along just the top, a little bit along the right side if you want, but mostly along the top. Show you that. Okay, and then that's all right now. We're gonna let this all settle into the paper and just chill for a little bit and bleed into each other. And we'll go ahead and paint the last blue blueberry. So this one, we're not going to add anything to what I'm calling the fangs, but I'm going to add water to the rest of the blueberry. Once again, leaving a 1/16 of an inch gap. Leave that 1/16 of an inch gap. That's important here. And then light blue to 75 to 80% of it. You can clean, blot. Now I'm going to take some blue. I'm going to apply that to the lower left, the left side, the top. I'll hold that up so you can see. And then dark blue will be to the top and the left and right side to create some dark value there. Okay. And the process is the exact same for the red violet blueberry and for the green blueberry, only we're substituting colors. We won't be using the 3 blues, we'll be using some other colors. So let's start with the red violet one. The light blue will become the light pink. The ultramarine blue will become this red violet. And the dark blue will stay the dark blue. And I'll explain why in just a second here. All right, so first things first. Let's apply water to all but that 1/16 of an inch edging. And the 1/16 of an inch edging is also allowing us to do this first layer to blueberries consecutively without having to worry about one blueberry bleeding into another blueberry. So that's another nice factor about it. All right. So after you have your water down, we're going to take the lighter pink and we're going to apply that to 70 to 80% of the blueberry. The light pink on this one's going to be mostly concentrated at the end on sort of the left side. You can kind of keep that in mind as we apply color. And then the red violet will be applied along the bottom, the right side, the top. Hold that up so you can see. So there's still some light pink over here that doesn't have any red violet over it. And then we're going to apply the navy or the dark blue to the top and to the right side. And you'll notice that as you apply this color and it melds with the pink, it's going to kind of take on more of a purple look as the navy blue mixes with the red violet. All right, so apply it along the top and along the right side. And then you can clean your brush and you can blot it. And this green blueberry, the light green is the light blue. The sap green is the ultramarine blue. The dark green is the navy. All right, so that's how we're substituting. So I'm going to start by applying water, but leave a 1/16 of an inch gap all around the edge because we don't want to fuss with those edges yet. We'll do that on the next layer. And after you've applied your clean water, well, it's not really clean, but you know what I mean, just water, no paint. Take some of that light green. We'll just dot that all around to get 75 to 80% coverage. Swoosh and blot. Put sap green on your brush. And I'm going to put this along the left side, top, and a little bit along the right side. The green one's a little more subtle. So I did the light green first all over, and then the sap green is left side, top, and a little bit on the right side. Then you can clean and blot. And the dark green is just along the top, just the top. We don't want the dark green to be as influential on this one as the blues and the pinks are on the other one. So you can already see this first one we started with. Do you see how those colors have already settled and how they look a lot smoother than they did when compared to this one that's still really wet and fresh. So as they dry and settle into the paper, they soften out and they blend and meld into each other. And it will be even more true when we are done with our second layer. So what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and do the first layer for the what I'm calling the fangs. I should come up with another word for it, but you guys will just have to bear with me today. So to the blueberries, so these two blueberries that have the fangs, I'm going to use the ultramarine blue. And I'm not necessarily going to try and fill in the entire outline that I drew for these portions of the blueberry. I'm just going to sort of cover them with paint sort of roughly. And I'll hold this up when I'm done. So I'm adding the ultramarine blue to those two blueberries. I just did it kind of rough, filled in the outlines. And I'm also going to use the ultramarine blue for the red violet blueberry. So for the fangs for the red violet blueberry, go ahead and use that. And for the green one, we are going to use the sap green. So sap green for the green one. All right. And then while we have sap green on our brush, we are going to go ahead and do the first layer to the stem and the leaves. So I'm going to take the green that's on my brush and I'm going to apply it to this main branch or stem, other than to the very top, the top that looks like a teardrop. So I'm just going to start right above that first blueberry we sketched on, and I'm going to paint the stem going all the way up to the top, but not covering the top, with the sap green, just like that. And don't clean your brush. Don't clean your brush, because what we're going to do is we are going to put just the tip of our brush into the red violet. So put just the tip of your brush into the red violet. And so what we've done is we have green on our brush and we've just added red violet to it. Red and green are opposites on the color wheel. So these two colors are going to mix together within the brush and create a new color, more of a brown. And this is an important skill because we are going to depend on that when we paint the apples next month, hopefully without technical difficulties, because these apples will only be painted using the three primary colors of red, yellow, and blue. And so we'll be doing a lot of color mixing within the brush. So I had green on my brush. I put just the tip of it into the red violet. And now I'm going to paint on the stem that connects this blueberry to the main stem. And you'll see how it almost looks like a reddish brown, and it's okay if it bleeds into the stem there. I want that to happen. And I'll also paint on this little bitty stem that runs in between these two blueberries. And I'll also paint on that teardrop shape above the top of the main stem. And as we mix the colors, it looks more and more brown as the red, violet and the green mix into each other. And that's just a really cool, fun technique. So you don't necessarily have to mix the brown. If you have red and green in your palette, you can just mix them together through your brush. All right. And now we'll go ahead and rinse our brush now. We'll blot it on a paper towel. I'm going to put more of that sap green on my brush. And I'm going to apply this color to the leaf stems. So to the leaf stems, I'm going to apply the green, the sap green that is. Just go over it with your sap green here, just one time. And then you can clean and blot your brush again. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the light green to each of the leaves in their entirety. So I'm going to apply light green to all the leaves in their entirety. I just love the shade of this green. It just looks like a mint green to me, which is a really relaxing color to me. I really like it. It's pretty. It also harkens me back to my childhood. I was a sucker for this pink and this green combination as a child, which is maybe why I chose it for this. Who knows? All right, so I'm adding the lighter green to all the leaves in their entirety. Even the folded over one, I'm going to apply it to that one too in its entirety. And then we're going to do something fun. I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to blot it. I mean, I think this whole process is fun, but you know what I mean. All right. So I cleaned my brush. I blotted it. I'm now going to put more of the sap green onto my brush. And I'm going to place dots of it along the base of the 3 leaves. So along the bottom of the 3 leaves, I'm placing a half dozen dots along the bottom of the leaves. So you see that little puddle I've created of sap green along the bottom of each leaf. And then I'm going to pull from these puddles of paint to paint on the veining on the leaves, at least to these 2 front facing leaves. You can hold off on this folded over leaf. So to the top 2 leaves, pull from that puddle and the sap green that's still on your brush and just paint on the veining. And it's going to kind of soften into the light green paint that is still a little wet. So this is still wet over wet or wet into wet, but it's probably more wet over partially dry because it's already starting to dry, right? So I'm going to pull from that puddle and just paint on all of the leaf veining. And if you need to add more sap green to your brush, you can, but what you kind of puddled on the base of the leaf would be enough to pull from for some subtle veining. And then as far as the bottom leaf goes, I'm just going to pull that soft green all the way up to the edge of where it folds over. And I'm also going to outline the very top edge of the folded over section. So I just filled in the bottom part of that leaf and I just outlined the very top edge of the part of the leaf that folds over. And then this is where I can sort of soften lines. You've probably seen this in some other watercolor classes. I'm going to clean my brush and blot it. And with a damp but not wet brush, I can sort of take that and kind of run it over the color I've applied to kind of soften it and transition it into the rest of the leaf. So I'm just kind of taking my slightly damp brush and just sort of running it over the veins, or maybe it needs to just kind of transition a little bit better into the lighter green. You don't have to do this. This is a totally optional step. It just sort of softens the transition just a little bit to take like just a slightly damp brush and sort of run it over where you've applied the color. All right, there we go. So you can see how that does make a difference when you do that. It just makes it look a little more natural, I think. All right. Now, are you ready to do the second layer of the blueberries? The blueberries should be pretty good and dry now, enough to do the second layer. I saw a comment about seeing the folded over leaf. Here's the folded over leaf. So I just pulled from the puddle and filled in the bottom part of the leaf, and I just outlined the very top edge of the folded over section. That's all I've done. All right, so we're going to now wet our brush, just have water on our brush. And I'm going to start with this blueberry this time, this main front and center one. And I am going to apply water all the way out to the edges of my outline, but I'm still not going to apply it to the very center. All right, so I'm going to apply water now. I'm even going to go over where I've already applied color. I'm going to apply it to the entire blueberry here, other than to the center of this blueberry. So apply clean water. I cannot speak. I almost said queen. Clean water. And you may activate some of that watercolor that has already kind of settled into the paper and dried. That's okay. Don't worry about it. All right. And then what we're going to do, now that we have this blueberry covered with water, other than the very center, we are going to use the white now. Remember how I said the white would be for the second layer of the blueberries? So I'm going to put some white on my brush. And I'm going to be adding white mostly just to the lightest parts of the blueberry. So on this particular blueberry, the lightest values are along the bottom and along the left side of the center. So I'm going to drop white onto those parts, the lighter valued sections. And it's not that we can't place it elsewhere. I'm just focusing on those spots because you can see how that adds a light color, a light value to it. And then after you've applied white to the bottom part and to the left of the center of the blueberry, I am going to take the ultramarine blue and I'm going to apply that along the left side, going all the way out to the edging this time. Still going to apply it along the top and a little bit to the right. And so we're still doing wet into wet, but it just looks more vibrant now because we're adding more colors. Another layer, blot and clean your brush. And then the dark blue will be for the very top and sort of the upper right. All right. And now I'm going to swoosh my brush, going to wipe it several times. I'm going to blot it a couple times. So I now just have a clean brush that's been blotted, and I can just sort of dab all over the blueberry where I kind of want to soften any of those spider veins. And I can now take my brush and I can smooth the edges. So I'm going to carefully take my brush. I'm going to smooth some of the edges of the blueberry by just sort of running it along the wet paint to smooth those edges. All right. So this is why we didn't want to do this the first time, because you would have been, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm speaking for myself. I'm tempted to fuss with it from the first layer, and then I sort of mess things up. And then my blueberry is like 3 times as large. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some of the light blue, and I'm just going to dot that on to any parts that I feel like still need a little bit of color. I can even go over some of the darker areas, and it will create even a nice mix where the light sort of stays on top of the dark, like right here where I applied the light blue. So you can just sort of make some adjustments. I might apply a little bit right along the outside edging of the middle. So this is where you can really get away with yourself and really make a lot of adjustments, but I'm going to end mine there because we still have 4 other blueberries to do. And we still have the center of this one. All right. So let's go ahead and work on this bottom blue blueberry. So I'm going to swish my brush, blot it on a paper towel, and I'm going to apply clean water to the whole blueberry other than those bottom things. But I'm going to apply it edge to edge now of my outline. Water to everything, including that first layer we painted on. And we're going to start with white, just like we did with the main blueberry. So I'm going to put some white on my brush. The lightest value on this blueberry is down towards the lower right. So I'm going to focus white down by the lower right. I'm going to blot that on to get some light value there. I'm going to swish my brush, blot it. I'm going to take some ultramarine blue, and I'm going to put that along the left side, a little bit on the middle. So left side and a little bit on the middle here. And then the dark blue is going to be along the top and just underneath that red blueberry and just underneath that green blueberry, because in real life in nature, those would create dark values where this blueberry is kind of tucked under or behind them. All right, so I'll show you that. And then this is where I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to blot it really good on the paper towel. And then this is when I can sort of dab at spots to sort of soften the colors, and I can sort of smooth the edges. And I don't know if you guys can hear this. We are still getting thunder here. So this storm is not over. Sorry that so many of you are struggling with video quality today. This is obviously not how I wanted the class to go, but I appreciate your patience and understanding. This is a nice long summer daytime storm, that is for sure. All right, so I've smoothed my edges. And now if you wanted to, you could, do a few drops here or there of the light blue just to add in a bit more color. You can even go over the darks and it will sort of soften in and look pretty cool. All right. Yes, I saw it is that time of year. Yes. I'm just glad it's not a tornado, because we do get tornadoes where I'm at. And we haven't had any tornado warnings in quite a while. So I am thankful for that. All right. So now let's go ahead and do this other blueberry over here. And then what I'm going to do is finish the leaves with you all, and then we'll finish these 2 blueberries, because I want to give these 2 blueberries time to dry, because if we were to just now go into the red blueberry or go into the green blueberry, we would have some colors bleeding into each other. So I want to avoid that. So we'll do this blueberry here, then we'll finish the stems and the leaves, and then we'll finish up with the other 2 blueberries. All right. So once again, we're going to take water. We're going to apply it to this blueberry, but not to the fangs. But we are going to apply it to all of the edges of this blueberry. We're not leaving that gap. And we'll go over even that first layer we painted on. And then swish and blot your brush. And we'll start with white. This blueberry here, the lighter values are mostly along the lower part of the blueberry, the bottom part, a little bit through the middle. So put white on your brush, and white's going to be along the bottom edge of this blueberry. And then you can swish and blot, and we'll apply blue to the left side, the middle, the top. Just try not to apply a lot along the bottom because we want that to really be that light color. And then the dark blue will be mostly along the top and right side. Mostly along the top and right side. It's not that you can't place it elsewhere. It's just where we're going to focus it. The top and right side. And then swish your brush, blot it really good. And then you can just sort of dab it at places where you need to soften the transition and then use it to smooth edges. All right, so I'm just being real careful here. And then after you smooth the edges, that's when you can kind of drop in dots of the light blue if you want to add some more dynamic to your piece. All right, so I'm going to clean my brush, blot it, and I'll take some of that light blue and I'm just going to dot it over a few places just to add some more interest. So hold that up so you can see. That one got a little wonky on me, but that's okay. Okay, so I'll give you a second to finish up that blueberry and then we'll finish the stems and the leaves and then we'll finish those other two blueberries and we still have the middle of this blueberry to do. Actually, what I want to do, I wanted to do this earlier, but I had too much water on this blueberry and I just knew it wouldn't work, but I think it'll be fine now. Let's go ahead and paint in the very center of this blueberry so it has a chance to dry. I'm going to fill in the middle of that blueberry with the light blue. So with the light blue, just fill in the middle of that main blueberry. And then that should dry by the time we're done with our stems and leaves so we can finish up the middle part there. All right. Someone asked, how do you paint the fangs again? All we've done to the fangs. I love that you're using that same word. If anyone knows the technical term, please feel free to share. So all I used was ultramarine blue on the blue blueberries and the red violet blueberry. And I just sort of roughly painted them in with the blue. And to the green blueberry, I used the sap green. We are going to do a second layer of color over them. But if you do that really quick now, you'll be all caught up. So it's just blue to these left blueberries and sap green to the right one. Okay, so to the main stem and to the leaf stems, I'm going to put some of that dark green on my brush. And I'm going to just paint on the right side of the main stem. So I'm going to leave the left side just the sap green. But I'm going to make this right side the dark green. So we just get a couple values going. And then I might just add a little bit to that teardrop shape above the stem just to give that a little value too. So I'll see if I can hold that up. So I just applied the dark green to the right half of that stem and I just added on a little bit to that teardrop shape along the top of the stem. And then for the leaf stems, I'm going to apply it to the left half of each of those stems. And it might be hard because these are thinner lines. So if you end up covering the whole thing, don't worry about it. But I'm going to try and get just the left half of each of these here. I know, easier said than done. All right, and that's just so you can see two different colors. It just adds a little bit of interest. And then with green, I am going to go over all of the veining on both of these leaves. I'm gonna paint over the veining, the center vein, the side veins. And I kind of like to do two parallel lines along the side veins on the leaves just to create a little bit of interest. So there's a little bit of the sap green kind of peeking through. I'll show you. I'll hold this up in just a second. I'm kind of painting on two parallel lines. Hopefully you can see this. I know my camera is not great today, but you can see a little bit of sap green peeking through those two parallel lines and all the side leaf veins. That's because I just drew two parallel lines. So you can still see a little bit of the original sap green from the first layer. And then I'm also going to apply it along the bottom edge of this leaf, the bottom edge of the leaf. And then I'm going to do what I did the first time where I swish my brush, I blot it, and I kind of use a clean brush to kind of transition this color better into the rest of the leaf. So I just sort of move a slightly damp brush over my paint just to sort of soften it and transition it into the rest of the leaf a bit. Now, this is when you could drop in more colors if you wanted. I'm going to do that today because we are a little short on time because of the technical difficulties. I'll just leave it here. So these are maybe a little bit lighter than my original, but I'm going to repeat that process to this other leaf. So if you missed it the first time, I'll walk us through it again. So I'm going to start by taking the dark green. I'm going to apply it to the center vein of the leaf. And then for the side veins, I'm going to kind of paint on 2 thin parallel lines, just so I can see a little bit of that sap green peeking through underneath. You maybe would find this easier if you used a different size brush than a number 4. Maybe your number 4 is a little old and the tip is bent. So maybe you'd find like a 2 or even a 0 would be easier. But I'm using a brand new number 4 brush, so the tip is good. And then I'm also going to apply the dark green along the bottom edge of the leaf. And this is where I'll clean, blot, and I'm just going to take a very slightly damp brush to just sort of help transition that dark green into the rest of the leaf. All right. And then for the bottom leaf that's folded over, I am going to put the dark green right underneath the folded under section. I'll hold that up so you can see. So see, I put it right under the folded over section. And maybe just even a little bit underneath that. I'm also going to outline the very top edge of the folded over section using just a really thin line. And then same thing, I'm going to swish, dab, and I'm going to pull what's underneath the folded over section down towards the tip to kind of soften it. And then if I need to, I can always drop on a little bit more of that darker green color. Same thing, you can drop some color on, still swish your brush and blot it on a paper towel. And that just helps smooth it out. Okay, so we're chugging along here. We shouldn't be too much longer. I'm also going to smooth out that top line I painted on just for good measure, because it seems a little too light. I'm actually going to drop in just a little bit of sap green along the top edge of the folded over section because it just looks a little too light there. So I just dropped in some sap green there as well. All right, and so now what we're ready to do is we're ready to finish the blueberries. So we'll return to this red violet blueberry, and it's pretty much the same process we've used on the blue blueberries. We're going to apply water to the whole thing, and hopefully that these 2 blueberries will be dry enough that we won't have color bleeding into each other. If we do today, just know it's because they were still wet. So if you have that issue and you want to remake this, which I highly recommend, especially with the issues we've had today, and tomorrow you can even go to my website and download the written instructions that may help you follow along with the blurry video to get a grasp of how to do this. But just know that if any color bleeds in, it's because we just didn't wait for these blue blueberries to dry all the way, and you may want to do that for better results. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to start with white, just like I did for the second layer of the blue blueberries. This red violet blueberry, it's the lightest values are on the left side. So I'm going to apply mostly the white along the left side of this blueberry. And then I'll swish, dab. And then the red violet color will be kind of applied to everything else. The bottom, the right edge, the upper right, the top, the upper left. There we go. And then I'll clean and blot, and the navy will be applied just along the top edge. I guess a little bit along the right side as well. I mean, you guys are following my color placement so that it matches this. You can really do whatever you want. This is your artwork. You can make the left or the right side light and the left side dark, you know, it doesn't have to be exactly like mine. And then we're going to swish our brush. We're going to blot it on the paper towel. And this is where I'm just going to sort of blot at it to help the colors transition. And I'm going to smooth the edges. Yeah, these artwork, like I'm teaching you a lot of techniques, but in reality, this is just inspiration for you. Use this, fun with it. I have students that follow my classes loosely, and then they always do their own take on it. Beautiful every single time. I love seeing it. Don't be embarrassed to send me something if it's not exactly what we did in class, even if you did your own composition. I love seeing your creativity. We're all artistic. And we're all creative people. So I love seeing what you guys do with these classes. All right, so that is the red violet one. I may take some of this light pink and just kind of dot it over a few spots, just like I did with the light blue, just to add a little bit more color, but that's a personal choice. And then for the green one, I'm going to apply water to the whole green one. Water to the whole green blueberry. I think I may have put a little bit too much water on my brush. You kind of want a nice even coating of water on the blueberries. You don't want there to be more water in one spot than another. So I'm sort of blotting to lift away some of this excess water I put on. And for this blueberry, it's sort of the middle bottom that is the lightest value. So that's where I'm going to sort of dot on the white, is sort of the middle part of the blueberry and sort of the bottom part of the blueberry. I like blueberry is a fun word to say, blueberry. All right, swish my brush, blot it on a paper towel. I'm going to take the sap green, going to apply it to the left side, along the top, along the right side. Okay, and then the dark green, I'm only doing along the top. The dark green is a pretty influential color, so I don't want to drown this blueberry in dark green. So I'm just kind of placing it where it overlaps the blue blueberry. I feel like if you said that 20 times fast, you would have a hard time doing it. All right, and then blot or swish your brush, blot it. And now I'm just going to sort of dab at the spots that I need to transition a little bit easier. And I can tip my brush to the edges, and we're almost done. We just need to finish up those fangs and need to address the center of the main blueberry. So let's do the fangs first. So to the two blueberries, we're going to just go over maybe half of the fangs with navy blue. So we started with the ultramarine blue. We're now going to use the navy blue. So I'm going to put some navy blue on my number 4 brush, and I'm just going to maybe try to go over half of each of those fangs just to add, more interest, another color, more value. So I'll hold that up. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but you should still be able to see some of the original ultramarine blue and now some of the navy blue. For the red violet one, I am going to go over it with the red violet color. Same thing, maybe just half. And the good news is if the red violet bleeds into your wet blueberry, it's just going to create more fun because it's already a red violet blueberry, right? So go over the red violet one with red violet. And if you don't like, if mine bled in because it's still wet, you can take a clean dabbed brush and just sort of wipe it off. That's called a lift technique. And I've talked about that in some of my previous classes that didn't have technical issues and will be easy to rewatch on YouTube. So while I'm mentioning that, you can go to my website, mandypeltier.com. You can see all my prior classes embedded on my website with outlines, with written directions. So you can take any of my, I think it's like 15 or 16 classes that I've taught prior to this one. Please follow me on social media at Mandy Peltier Artist. You can keep up with my classes and what I'm up to. I'm a mixed media artist, not a watercolor, but I also use other media. All right, so the green one, the fangs for the green one, we're going to use red violet as well. All right, so I'm going to go over the green one with red violet. Because things are still a little wet, it's bleeding in a little bit to the green one. So I'm just going to use that wipe technique along the bottom, just sort of wipe that off. And now let's tackle the middle of the main blueberry. Okay, middle of the main blueberry. So I'm going to start by putting ultramarine on my brush, and I'm going to outline that star shape or the flower shape. I'm going to outline all of it with the tip of my brush. I'm going to place a dot in the middle. Hold it up so you can see. I just outlined the whole thing with the blue and put a dot in the middle. I'm going to swoosh and blot, and I'm going to outline the very edge of the ultramarine blue outline with navy blue. So I'm going to outline the outline with navy blue and put a dot in the middle. Okay, and then I'm going to do that same technique I used on the leaves, where I swish my brush really good, I blot it really good, and I just sort of run that wet brush into the white space just to sort of transition that color a little bit, to soften it. And then I'm going to end it by placing a dot of navy blue right in the middle. And I'm doing this fast. You can always wait for this layer to dry and then outline it one more time with navy blue to really help it stand out. I did that on the original, but that is the technique of how to do it. You're kind of just doing the same technique and using strategies to your advantage. So after that, we are done. We made it. I'm so grateful. I'll switch to my other camera so I can say goodbye to you. I have to say this is probably the most stressful class I've taught due to the weather, but oh, look at my hair. It's like, I obviously was like messing with it during the storm, but we survived. We made it through. Thank you for getting through this with me. If you manage to keep up, will you hold up your work so I can see it? And I'm going to switch here to a gallery view. And these are just like little, oh my gosh, these blueberries. Okay, so clearly you can follow what I was saying because y'all did an amazing job. I'm so impressed. Okay, so I say this every time and only a few of you ever take me up on it. Please tag me on social media or email me these pictures because I'm like literally looking at an inch size square. I want to see these nice and large and big so I can write you back and tell you what a great job you did. I'm so impressed. You guys make me so happy. All right, so I hope you guys will join me on September 21st for the apples. I have other classes coming up too that I'm just not ready to share with you yet. But I hope if you want to learn how to paint these apples using the 3 primary colors, this is a class for you. It's a lot of fun to create and there's not as much color mixing as there normally is in my classes. So thank you for being here today and I hope to see you next time.